Maybe. All right, it's recording. Okay, so this is going to be the micro campaign of OpenSIX. We got our usual suspects back. At some point, I think I'll edit this in DaVinci Resolve and add people's names or something to it. I don't know. It's just, OBS is a little you get too many things open. I don't trust OBS. It's terrible. But yeah, so we're gonna do OpenSIX. You guys have the full package, which sounds weird to say, but yes, there's a few things that aren't in the.
Nobody's going to take that out of context.
Yeah, that's true. That's my bad. I'm going to cut that in OBS. DaVinci. Thank God I'm becoming an amateur filmmaker with DaVinci Resolve. Yeah, but you guys have the full the full PDF. The one that's up is lacking like the extended bestiary and all those things, but doesn't really matter. So there's the three of you. We're going to do this. We'll do I don't know how many sessions. We'll just play by ear. I do appreciate you guys being willing to play test the system since we all had a good time last time. I guess the big thing is initially I was thinking of doing fantasy because it's probably the easiest for everyone and it's the one that everyone kind of gets. But if you guys have an objection to that, we can talk about other genres.
I have no objections. I'll do whatever.
No, that's fine with me.
All right. I just spit off screen. I'll have to edit that one out too. Fucking cashew. I was eating cashews with a dog, which is I don't know if they're good or bad for a dog. All right, so let's do this. To make characters, so if you guys go to page 10 in the PDF where it's making heroes, we're going to use hold your own hand as the option. So what I've done is, and I think that's going to be the default from now on, is essentially it's instead of me telling you how many trait tags you can get and all the talents you can get and all that jazz. Because Rich, this was spawned off something you said. We're having a conversation on math, and you're like, well, everyone starts with the same threat, so here's what the math would work out to be. And I realized I'm like, man, I don't really like that. Because threat represents, health and your capability and all that jazz. So I was like, how do I vary that? So everyone's threat begins at 1 automatically, and that's the only value that you start with. You have 13 development points, which I'm going to change because I realized hyphenating or shortening it down comes out to DP, and I'm just not going to. I can't do that over and over again. So I'll change it to something else. You get 13 points. When you increase your threat, this is line 4, section 1. This is typo. It's basically the desired threat value is 2 times. It costs twice that many points. So if you want a threat of 4, it costs you 8 points. A threat of 2 is 4 points. A threat of 3 is 6 points, and so on. A threat of 6 is 12 points. Yes, you can get a threat of 6 and have literally nothing else going on with your characters. Good luck. Each trait tag on your character sheet, you have those limited numbers. Each one of those is 2 points per tag, and those essentially make you better at doing very specific things. So when you have one of those, you add a D6 to your roll. And then talents cost 4 points per talent. And the talents are further down in a section. I'm not sure where they are. But to Rich's point, before we figure out what all of our threats are and all that jazz, if we go down to life path on page 14, this is Rich's favorite. You guys get to randomly determine how your character come about. Oh, that's a question. Yeah, sorry, I'm blowing out these AirPod Maxes too. So I talked about Dragon Age just because Thetis is an awesome setting. It's got some of that grim dark fantasy going on for it. Or so we could do that. You guys aren't really familiar with Dragon Age, which is fine. So we could do like a standard vanilla fantasy if you guys want. Or I don't know what else.
I'm good with doing non-standard generic fantasy. I mean, if Dragon Age is a cool setting, I'm happy to dive into that cool setting. I love Grimdark personally when it comes to fantasy, so I've got no problems with Grimdark. But I mean, that Celtic setting that you ran us through with Dragonbane that one time, that was fun too. So I'm good with any of those.
Okay. Ethan, anyone else?
I'm fine with anything.
Yeah.
Dragon Age presents a few things that are different. We were talking about it earlier. Like if you're a mage, you have a couple of ways you go about it. You're either hunted to be murdered by the Templars, or you're part of a circle mage, and then You're watched carefully by the church. If you're an elf, no one likes you because your people are terrible to them. And then dwarves are a whole different thing. The dwarves are like super conspiratorial, and the dwarven kingdom are basically Game of Thrones lived out underground at a constant pace.
Okay.
But I mean, this is really it's a different game, so it might be. I don't know. It might be easier just to go standard vanilla fantasy.
Okay.
And not tie you guys to lore, so you guys have to ask constantly of like, what does this mean? Because it's not really fair for you guys. So we'll go standard fantasy. Do you guys want to do humans only, or do you want to open it up to elves, dwarves, and humans?
I'm playing a human regardless, so it doesn't matter.
I could go either way.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it depends what kind of tone we're gonna have, right? If it's more of like a gritty, dark tone, maybe we could just all be humans.
Okay, we could do that. All right, so super easy. So we know everyone's going to be a human. That gives you a bonus trait tag anyway out the gate. So at least you have that. That might help make more sense. Okay, so you guys, if you're on the PDF and you're on page 14, you can start rolling whenever you want your life path. It tells you how your birth, your family. It goes down for a handful of tables, and you can just start filling stuff in. If you have any questions about anything, obviously feel free to ask.
Okay, so birth 3. I'm nomadic.
Oh, me too.
Oh, nice.
But because of all that sort of stuff, I like to get away. I would go spend time in the forest around the city or cities wherever I grew up. So I tended to stay. I was something of a loner. I lived through a disaster, shaping my resilience. You know what? Let's say that this disaster was a avalanche.
Oh. Okay.
I was out running around during the wintertime in one of the mountain areas during the wintertime, and there was an avalanche that got me. My mentorship, I was injured during that experience, and so that's kind of when I started becoming a little bit more introspective, and I was having to teach myself something because I was laid up for a while. Commerce. Was I in the legal or the illicit sector of business? I'll have to get back to you on that. Haven't fully decided yet. You know what? Given that my initial challenge was I overcame a major personal flaw, we're going to say my initial foray into business was illicit.
Oh, nice. Not so good at it, are you?
Well, it's not that I wasn't good at it, but it was. I probably had a confrontation with the law, which forced me to reform somewhat.
There you go.
And the major success, the thing that I found or learned something that proved highly beneficial was, we'll say, I was, when I saw that I was primal, I was leaning towards druid, but I think I'm going to lean more towards a rangery type. And I figured out shortcuts through the passes in the surrounding area, and I ended up becoming something of a guide to some of the local merchants in the area through my experience with being outdoors and all that sort of stuff. So I became a ranger of sorts. And even after the run-in with the law, that kind of put me on a different path to where I became the type of ranger that also goes out and hunts down the bounties and things like that in the surrounding area.
Okay. And as a human, you get a free trait tag. And then primal, you get survival as a free trait tag.
Okay.
But when you deal with something that you tend to be a little superstitious, and so whenever you deal with a cult or supernatural, you roll 1 die less to a minimum of
Okay.
1. Yeah.
So all the more reason not to be a druid.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah. Feel free to go ahead and do your buy your threat, buy your trait tags, and then your talents however you spend your points. Robert Ethan. Oh.
So for so I'm nomadic,
Okay.
and so I'm imagining that we were following maybe like instead of following like herd animals, we were actually following like some predatory thing, like a kind of like a bear-like creature,
Okay.
because it would like leave a lot of. So our tribe was kind of like vultures, right? Like you know what I mean, like we're scavengers, and we sort of followed
Okay.
these like an apex predatory creature. We kind of stayed in its shadow and kind of followed it around, or maybe a group of them. So the early environment was harsh, which that fits in, right?
Yeah.
But then I was orphaned, so once in a while these apex predators, we didn't hide well enough in the shadows, and my parents were killed. And then it's a primal culture, so I feel like this apex predator is kind of like it embodies like a deific sort of like, and maybe not like outright worship, but it's sort of like connected to our idea of divinity.
Like a totem kind
Um,
of system.
yeah,
Okay.
and the significant event, there was a conflict. I want to say there was like a schism in the tribe where there was some members that wanted to continue the way things were, and then there was like a new thought idea of like, hey, let's try to evolve ourselves. Um, I did have a mentorship, a scholarship as my mentorship, so I received a broad education. So I think I showed some early promise, and so different leaders in the tribe, kind of took turns, like tutoring me, give
Yeah.
me tutelage.
Yeah.
And my early profession was defense, so I would say like I was one of like there was like uh, not necessarily the scouts, but the outliers. Like we were kind of like trained to like not to scout as much as but to keep an eye on things, like, and particularly when whatever this creature was, I was one of the group that would go would go close to it, like
Like
determine its track and movements and stuff.
okay.
But my initial challenge was a failure. Go ahead.
Like a skirmisher outfit kind of thing.
Yeah, skirmisher. But my initial challenge was a failure.
Oh.
I want to say, like, I was very cocky and arrogant and didn't really, I was full of myself, and so I made some significant error in following this apex predator, and the rest of my skirmishes were wiped out, right? Um,
Damn.
and then, but then my first success was a deal. Successfully completed an important agreement, trade, or negotiation. So I'll say, even though this initial challenge was a failure, I was able to get something of value, maybe like a tooth of the creature or something of value that I traded to like a more civilized land. So I kind of like left my tribe to like, yeah, I kind of left my tribe, like I was ashamed and embarrassed, but I also got this thing of value that I was able to go into like a civilized area of land and trade this for, you know, some amount of material possessions
Oh.
or wealth.
Okay. That works. Nice. Ethan, what you got?
All right. I didn't really know what to do with this, so I'm gonna take it in a bit of an interesting direction, maybe. My birth was isolated.
Oh. Okay.
And then I mean, it all kind of like you'll see where it'll paint a picture.
Sure.
He's isolated. His early environment was a countryside, which
Okay.
makes sense. Everyone's living far apart. His family structure is extended. Also, kind of just like paints a picture of a dude who's just kind of left to his own devices. Culture type is nomadic.
Interesting.
Yeah, so he's moving around a lot, but he's alone often. So this, to me, and then significant disaster or significant event was disaster. So I'm imagining he's like, moving around town to town trying to make a living, maybe like a merchant type, and he's in a town and it kind of like collapses or gets attacked or something, and he needs to find a way to to pull his bootstraps up better in this world. And then his mentorship was spiritual. So for me, the direction I'm kind of going is I'm imagining him kind of like getting mixed in with the occult and kind of like more like less of a merchant, more of like a drug dealer, traveling drug dealer, occulty kind of guy. Early profession is exploration, which kind of makes sense for that.
Yeah, sure.
Initial challenges, authority, running into the law. Deals. People realize he's practicing like kind of dark magic. And first success was a deal, which I'm imagining is kind of like a Breaking Bad type deal where maybe I don't know. He makes a good push for the cult in an area and kind of like establishes authority. Something I don't know.
No, it's good. I like it. Not one of you has a nice, happy life path. Oh man, man.
Well, I was like, if I just make him a merchant, I'm like he won't be able to do anything.
Yeah, no, I mean, it all depends on how you got those trait tags and if you get any talents or anything. All right, so nomadic, that's a different one. So you get the free trait tag for being a human. Nomad, you gain a handle when using any kind of riding animals or dealing with wagons, chariots, or coaches, or anything that moves you via an animal. You have you can use handle on that. And then the problem with your people is that your pride tends to see you engage in reckless contests of any kind, and so you roll with one less die when it comes to manipulating people. You may be okay at it, but losing that's not going to be the answer. So gamble your life away. And then go ahead and buy your trait tags and your talents if you have them. All right.
Okay, so it says humans get a 5th trait tag, but then on the trait table it says you get 3 trait tags.
That's from the old way of doing business. It's just considered a free one.
Okay, so we get 4 then?
No, you got to buy them. That's from what page is that? Page 10?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, you get 13 points to spend on your threat, your traits, and your talents.
Okay, all right.
And then my shower math. I'm not a math slav, so I think my shower math makes sense. But I don't know.
All right, I see. Okay.
So for like occult powers, that would still just be power.
Power, yeah, and then you just kind of describe how it works out for you, and then when it comes down to your power tags, that's down on page 50. And then kind of what your aesthetic is kind of what trait tag you would use. Like it could be, if you're going to use magic, we might call it manifest. If you have like sonic powers or something, we could do manipulate. Mutant powers would use like endurance, stuff like that. So we'll figure something out as you go down and kind of get familiar. Again, I wrote this game and I'm like, man, I forgot where. Oh my God, how many desperate measures. When you power talent, you gain knowledge of power tags equal to a roll of manifest. So as soon as you get your character built and stuff, we'll roll how many power tags you start with.
Okay.
So quick question, Scott. Is there anything you can buy for 1 development point?
No. I don't think so. No.
Okay.
Oh, you know what? No, but I could see like you getting stuck on having 1 left over, and maybe I can transfer that over to something like add 1 coin to your purse. Does that make sense? Would that work?
Yeah.
That's a good question. Because you don't start with a lot.
So humans get like a bonus trait. Is that how it works?
Yeah,
Or...
you get a free trait tag. Yeah. I've got an idea too for those extra points. Maybe like add coin, add a tag to a weapon or something. Maybe, like kind of let you broaden out and reach out. Like, I start with this cool gun. Well, what does it do? Well, it's a pistol, but it fires burst fire. Why is that? Well, because I developed, in character creation. Yeah, I just haven't gone back and edited the sections on all the talents and tags and stuff to be like, because I wanted to see if this works and what you guys think of the spending points versus just a set number of things that everyone has the same amount of things.
I like the spending. I like things that allow us to be different.
Yeah.
What might be fun would be to have like a a base pool, and then you roll for how many extras you get.
Well, that's an idea. I could do like I did for Neon Blood too. Like, how do you prioritize? You prioritize your threat, your talent, your traits, or whatever, and let people pick and choose like that. That's easy. Yeah, well, I say that now. It wasn't that easy.
Well, so here's what I've taken so far. So I got survival for free.
Yeah.
I took athletics for free as my human trait tag. And then I bought shooting. I bought the talent savage to the end. And then I took 3 extra threats. So my threat comes up to 4 because I have 1 by default. Then I spent 6 to get 3 additional. So that's going to give me a threat of 4.
Yep.
And that leaves me 1 point left over.
Yeah. Okay.
So.
Okay.
And then you said I take that 1 and convert it to a coin?
You can convert it to coin, or we can even play with the idea of either coin, or you can add an extra tag to a weapon. So if you wanted to have like a bow that does like extra range, maybe that, something like that.
That's cool. Awesome, yeah.
Okay, so manifest is a trait tag.
Yes.
Can I cast without that? Or?
You can. Yeah, you can. All the trait tag does is give you the extra die roll.
Okay. Gotcha,
and like having the power talent is going to give you a +1 to any roll to use power. So if you don't take it, you'll just start with one less die using your magic.
Okay, so I think this works. So out of 4, that costs 6 points, right? Because I get start 1, so 6 points for 3 more threat, and then if I take always alert, that's 4 points. That's 10, and then I get. Yeah, okay, so my threat's 4, so that's bonus. So I spent 6 points to get the 3 more threat from the base 1. I spent 4 points on a talent of always alert. I get a d6 to defend against ambush attacks.
Okay.
That's 10 points, and then I get a free. I took athletics as a trait tag for free as a human. And I spent 2 points on the trait tag survival, so I'm at 12. So that leaves me 1 left over.
1 left, so you could do you could add it to your coin for starting gear, or you could gain like some kind of extra aesthetic tag to a weapon that you use or armor or something.
Oh yeah, I'll add that to my knife. Like my knife is made from the tooth of this apex predator creature that's what I
Okay.
That killed my other skirmisher members.
Nice, awesome. We'll start talking about gear. We can we'll talk about the effect that's going to have for you. There's a few different directions I think we can go with that. And then Ethan.
Yes.
You get your stuff spent?
Yeah, I took power. Then I took discern as my human trait, and then manifest with points, and then I have a threat of 4.
4? Okay. So let's get your power tags real fast so we know what you're we're going to be working with. You're going to roll your manifest roll. So you're going to roll your what's up?
Ethan should still have 2 points left, I believe, right?
Powers
is 4. Powers 4.
Yeah.
You got discern for being human. You bought manifest, which is only 2.
Right. Yep. 6.
And then you have your threat. You said your threat is 3 or is 4 right now?
4, yeah.
So
I boosted it up
it's
3.
4. Okay. So you spent
6 points. Yeah.
6 points, which is only 11. So there's 2 more points left to spend.
Oh, I must subtracted it. I thought I already subtracted it out of my thing because I was keeping track. Okay, I was actually looking at like discern. Or no, I already took that. Tradecraft was another one I was looking at.
Oh yeah, that kind of fits in with I think where you might be going with all this.
Yeah, I was honestly considering not even taking Manifest and just taking Tradecraft.
Well, there you go. Now you got both.
Now you get them both.
All right. And Tradecraft is your basic thief skills. All right, so roll your manifest. So that's going to be your threat pool, +1 for the manifest trait tag, +1 for power as a talent.
Okay.
And each success gives you a power tag that you start the game with.
So that's a total of 66.
Yes.
Okay. We're just looking for successes. Ooh, I got 2, and I can re-roll those?
Yep, 6s always explode.
All right, I got 2 and 2 5.
2, and so you automatically have 1, so that you start with 3 power tags. So you can look at the power tags as we're going through and equipping the characters and whatnot.
Yeah. Oh, and you know what? I suppose I need to come up with a name, don't I?
Name, did you buy your gear?
I haven't bought my gear yet.
Yeah.
What page is that on?
That is on 32 is your loadout. So you get 3 coin plus a D6. And on a 6, you roll again as usual. But this time it's not just, you get like 3 coin plus whatever you roll on the die.
Okay, so let's see. I am rolling 3 coin plus a 4, so that's not going to be anything.
No, you
oh wait, no, I add 4, so
yeah,
I get a total of 7 coin.
Yeah,
yeah.
Although that's a, and then how do you guys spend your money? You know, like armor is basic armor. I changed it to where there's just a basic armor level, and that's 1 coin counts as 1 load, and that has 1 use and all that jazz. And then on the next page is tags of like you can go to medium, you can go to heavy, you can add a composite tag to it, environmental tag. These penalize and modify. They modify how you do things, but they also cost extra coin, and they're of course not. Refractive armor is not a real thing in a fantasy setting. But I was trying to put everything like environmental armor if you're in space. Composite, I'd be willing to entertain a conversation, especially with like Robert's character of idea of like these hunting these like hyper predators. You're like, oh, maybe your tribe makes armor out of this weird shit.
Okay, so if I'm looking at this right,
yeah,
if I go with a heavy bow, it is a heavy bow is going to cost me 3 coin. Is that right?
Yeah, 3 coin, and it will be three of your load, and your load is equal to a threat +1 if you have endurance or any talent. And then, like we talked about, if you wanted to add a trait tag to your bow, your heavy bow gives you piercing and ranged 2. So you're already shooting at the longest range possible. But you could add like piercing 2, because piercing will ignore 1 point of armor. So you do piercing 2 and be like, well, now I ignore 2 points of armor. Or you could give on page 37. There's like some extra tags. So if you didn't have you could make it a balanced bow, so you ignore a penalty from like weird stuff, or however you can, whatever excuse you can use. We can have that conversation. We'll have a conversation. But that's go ahead.
Oh, so are all bows count as 2-handed weapons then? So
yeah,
they're heavy?
Yeah, they're all 2-handed weapons. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I should probably adjust that cost load size to able to like something.
So I rolled a 1 on my d6, so I have 4. No, I have 5 coins. So I get 1 extra.
Yeah.
Okay, so that works. I guess.
5 points,
All right, so I guess I'll take light armor, a light blade, and then I guess I can get like a light bow, which would be 3, 4, 5.
Nice.
So my threat is 4. I do not have endurance, so my max load is 5. Is that right?
It would be, it's your equal to your, you can carry a number of items equal to your threat, plus any talents that you have. Do you have a talent that gives you extra load carrying?
I do not. I thought you said it was threat +1, but if it's just
plus
threat...
1 for endurance, yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
So if I were to take a heavy bow, that's 3 of 4 points already, which means I can't really carry anything else, right?
Yeah, I might have to bring the bows down. Like, I'll have to do a chart I'll have to rearrange this a little bit. We'll say your bow takes 2, and Robert, your bow will have a 1 load.
Okay.
I'll have to figure this out. I was trying to keep things super simple, but
Now, I'm going to ask for that last development point. Can I put that to my bow and just make it so that I can actually use it as a melee weapon as well?
like fire in melee. Yeah, sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's do that and give it like give it like agile, or
Okay.
And then maybe you use athletics instead of shooting when
Cool.
you're that close. Does that work?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
totally cool.
All right.
I'm going to take a backpack. I might not have armor. So, quick question.
Yeah.
Does a backpack take any slots at all? I know it adds 4.
It requires 1 load.
I'm going to put a backpack inside my backpack so I can get another 4.
Oh my god. Man. I was going to make a video about that, about why I designed some of the things I designed them, because of things like that. Like, you have to think of the stupidest shit someone will do and then design a rule around it to prevent it from happening. It's the most frustrating. I remember things like that, and then I'm like, that's why solo RPGs exist.
Okay, I will spend I am now destitute. I am broke because I'm taking a light axe, because the moment you don't take a backup weapon is the moment your weapon breaks.
I mean, yeah, that's true.
How do we determine our endurance?
It's a trait tag. So if you have endurance, it would add one die to the load.
Oh, so if you don't have so you don't have endurance, you just have
You just carry your threat. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Oh, and then my vibe. I need my vibe, right?
No, I don't call it vibes anymore. That was such a terrible idea. It's aesthetics. What your aesthetics? Stick to your aesthetics.
But my character sheet still says vibe.
Does it really? Oh my god, it does.
You know, my aesthetic is going to be Ranger from the D&D cartoon.
Hank. I am a Hank. Always whining. Should have been a paladin. That hurts my heart. I actually love paladins. That hurts my heart.
You know what makes me laugh is they have the slimy character be the cavalier.
Yeah, like, well, it's because he's rich. Like, Gygax had a hand in some of that, so it was like, what was he doing? Ethan, what power tags did you take?
I went with Deadly Aura.
Oh.
Phase, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And Debilitate.
Oh, man. All right.
Is phase the one that allows you? I haven't looked at the power edges, but when I hear phase, I think it allows you to like go a thrill.
Yeah, intangibility. Kind of how we'll see how he uses it. We'll see how he does it.
So the question is, do they stack? Can you go, or can you phase with the deadly aura?
It's individual power use, you know. But technically, if you roll enough actions on your turn, you know, you can take one of those actions to sacrifice it to maintain the deadly aura if you already used that last round, and then maintain that for another round, another action. Yeah, there's a lot you can do with it. It's like this game was written by a genius. Is that everything? Are we
where's the vibes at?
Shut the fuck up, Ethan.
Aesthetics. I'll fix that for you, Scott.
It's too late. You don't know the work I put in this character sheet, and you're not changing anything. I was literally creating a little text box and moving them around.
Yeah, it's just on page 25, and it has some generic ones, genre-specific ones, but, you know.
Okay.
I wasn't going to put them in there, and then I was like, I better put some, like, examples of things in there, because the moment I don't is the moment I hear about it. I was playing Cyberpunk. I didn't know what to put for my character. I'm not aware of Cyberpunk, the video game, or a 30-year-old fucking tabletop game. It's like, whatever. I'm kind of curious to see how you guys play these guys out. As soon as Robert gets, the last thing I need you guys to do, and you don't have to do this right now. You can take time to think about it before we meet again. I need you, and you can't share these with anybody. You can DM them directly to me. It'd be perfect. I need you to write down or make a note of. I need rumors about you guys. 2 that are positive rumors, 2 that are negative rumors, and then 1 that is a false rumor.
Now, based on the fact that you say 1 false rumor, I'm assuming that the 2 positive and the 2 negative should be true rumors.
They'll be true. Yeah.
4 truths and a lie.
There you go. And they can be super. I heard he's an asshole. True.
That's
correct. Correct. I hear he's real judgmental all day long.
No lies detected.
No lies detected whatsoever. I can give you all of them right now about myself. Okay. So the game setting. We have 2 primals and a nomad who is really only, briefly removed chronologically from a primal state. And you're an occultist. You survived an avalanche. You said you hunt bounties out of a large settlement. And then you were a skirmisher and you tracked down large prey. Like a Conan the Barbarian, swords, like sorcery and sandals kind of thing? Or go even further back to like a 10,000 BC where you guys are on the cusp of like the ancient magical shit is being supplanted slowly by humanity. And then
what if there was like a higher, advanced civilization that was fueled by magic that kind of was ruined, and so we're like we're kind of clawing our way back out of this dark age, or we're in the dark,
Yeah, the what do you guys think? I do. Yeah, it could be interesting. Anyone? Does that ruin you guys' thoughts of how you saw your characters?
No.
Works perfect.
So we're in like this younger dryas. Just after that, it's collapsed, and maybe not to go too weird on it, but maybe like some of the creatures that are out there are the products of the civilization, which makes them highly valued for the occult practitioners. Weapons, armor, magic for their blood, their teeth, their eyes, things like that.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I will say that to some degree...
Yeah, I'll work on the concept. And
cool.
Then, I have some ideas of where it's going, but yeah, those are all solid. I like it.
No, I can kind of see this coalescing, and that's why I like Ethan's. I like the idea that Ethan's in the magic he wields will be kind of like, I'll be like a little bit on edge about that. Like that won't necessarily be like not attack him over it, but be like, whoa, like kind of a mix between fear and that's dangerous,
Yeah.
Well, and you said I drop a die anytime I'm around supernatural.
Yeah, you guys roll with 1 less die on your threat pool against supernatural stuff.
Okay. So would that happen? I mean, if I'm in a fight and Ethan starts casting his magic, does that mean that my character will roll with 1 less threat die because I'm around supernatural stuff? And even though he's a friend of mine,
yeah,
there's always that I'm looking over my shoulder sort of idea.
I think we can play that by ear because my initial thing is like maybe at first when you guys are first getting to know each other and you're like this weird piece of shit, God damn, this guy walks around the grass and everything dies around him. Like that's not normal.
Why do mushrooms grow under his feet?
Yeah, right. Like, oh, look at the bees and the flowers.
No, well, and if you, I mean, the leveling up aspect is something that I haven't read, so I don't know what the level up looks like. But it could also be a thing like Savage Worlds where I could spend X number of, or level up, or if it's points or whatever, I could buy off that problem if I no longer want to be bothered by Ethan's magic.
Yeah, there's a possibility for that. I don't think I would do that to you guys because the shtick gets old. I think,
Yeah.
you know, like, oh my god, we've seen this. Awesome. He's gonna walk through the dinosaur. Awesome. Yeah, we can do that though. I've got a couple of ideas. So interesting. All right. I guess the big question is now that you guys have made characters on a free-form basis, all on your own. How do you feel about the character creation process as it stands?
I like it.
Any notes?
Yeah, I like there's some
straightforward.
random tables, and then from those you can kind of because it feels like fat. It doesn't feel like I'm not like looking at a lot of feats to figure out which one gives me the +5 to hit for or the -5 to hit for +10 damage kind of thing, right? So it feels
Yeah.
I'm not looking which weapon does I need this weapon because it gives me like blah blah. I like more of a narrative focus, but there's some randomness. So it's not like I'm not just making it out of myself. I actually get some prompts, so to to make a character from.
Nice. Yeah, that was all Rich's idea, so that's the only reason it exists.
Nice.
Random's the best. I love random.
It really is.
The
Cool.
part that I struggle with
Yeah.
is, and it's when I say struggle, that's not to imply that it's bad or needs to change, but the 13 points feels low just because I look at all of the different trait tags and it's
Yeah.
I want to have a cool talent or something,
Yeah.
but my threat is also not just how much damage I deal, but also how much damage I
Yeah.
can sustain.
Yeah.
And knowing that I'm probably not going to be able to have armor because I need to have other equipment, which is going to take up slots. That part makes me worry a little bit because my threat is not as high as I would like it to be, which is again not necessarily a bad thing, but it's the 4 points or double what I want it to be for threat. Then there's the 2 for trait tags, and it's 4 for a talent.
Yeah.
There's not a lot to work with, and we'll see how it plays out.
Okay.
I don't know the threats of the war. I don't know what I'm going to be encountering, and
Yeah.
the damage that I might be sustaining is where I start worrying about the threat being so low.
Okay.
Because I'm
Yeah.
used to things being higher than that.
Okay. Yeah. And like I said, I don't know how the math is going to work out. So, and it could be a thing where it needs to go to like 14 points or 15 points or whatever.
Yeah. Now I do like the if you have points left over, you can use them for other things.
Yeah. And I could also just put that in the creation process. Like you can, you can go threat, traits, talents, coin, or gear tags. And like 1 point for all those things. But yeah, okay. Well, at least that works.
I think. Well, personally, I feel like I have a lot of stuff because I can roll. Like I rolled 3, like kind of spells. So I was wondering, maybe you could even make like give like fighters more, or like cost like the power talent costs like if you give extra, if it's like 15 total points at the beginning, maybe power costs 6 as opposed to the rest, because I think that makes sense with how strong magic can be. I don't know.
That's kind of how Dragonbane does it as well. With Dragonbane, if you're a wizard, you don't get a class talent or whatever they call it.
I think just to balance it, because I feel personally like I have like a lot of stuff. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. What do I know though?
I literally am not going to know how this plays out until we get to it. And be like, oh yeah,
yeah. Like I took the ambush. I took the always alert, but it's a D6 against ambush attacks. But like that cost me 4 points because like that makes sense to my character. But from a purely tactical, just mechanical point, I'm like, if we don't get ambushed a lot, that's a lot of points that may not come up very much, right?
That's fair. That's super fair. I'll have to. I can take a look at.
Like I don't know if it's a lot more work to like make talents. Like if there's like I mean Ethan was saying like a power is a 6 point talent. If there's like if there's like
I got you.
not a flat cost, right?
Yeah. No, I got you. Like a greater and lesser talents or whatever. Yeah. It's not yep. That's easy enough. I'll take a look at that. Yeah, because that's not bad actually. That's a good example of like, well, shit.
Yeah. The other thing that I will mention, and this is something that I need to get used to for this game. Most of the games where we call them trait tags here,
Yeah.
but they're kind of equivalent to skills, right? And I'm used to skill games. I need to have skills because that's what I'm going to be rolling.
I see what you're saying.
And it's slightly different here. And so when I started going through this, I actually loaded up a lot on trait tags.
Yeah.
I'm like, crap, my threat's going to be like 2.
Yeah.
So now I got to figure out which trait tags to give back so that I can increase my threat.
Yeah.
But
because threat kind of affects everything, right? So
exactly.
Why I think that's why it does cost more, is because like that's more of like a specialty. Like if you're like, I really like,
I'm good at picking pockets, so I get tradecraft. Yeah. It's not really a skill. It's just it's just a talent you like. I don't know what else to call it.
Right, but the words themselves make me think in terms of skills,
sure,
right? Shooting and all that sort of stuff. So
yeah.
I think of skills, and I think I have to fill that in because I forget that I'm going to be rolling my threat dice, my threat number of dice, regardless of whether I have that skill or not.
No, that's fair.
And if I have that, then I get to add another die to that, which is good because 6s are if I want to guarantee. Speaking in pure odds, right? Chances are I have to have at least 6 dice to guarantee a success. I know that's not really how it works, but a 1 in 6 times, and I've got 6 dice. Chances are one's going to be a 6. But it's that's something that I'm going to have to mentally overcome, is the idea that this isn't necessarily a skill-based game. We've got talents within certain skill arenas that will help me in my task, but I'm not actually rolling skills.
Yeah. And it's just a mindset shift. Yeah, you're right. It just takes time.
The interesting thing to think about, though, is, to your point, I could have dumped 12 points into threat to get a threat of 7.
Yep.
And that statistically would have been better than me having any trait tags.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and that's kind of how I design everything, especially with this, is like, it's just like the ambush thing. I guess that's a good example of, like, I always put things in the player's core of, like, well, you're the one who took it. You're the one who, set your threat at 2 and took, 5 talents or 5 traits, because that's what or you took 3 talents instead of, because you want to be a fighter, mage, thief, or whatever.
Although that's something that we may need to think about.
Yeah.
Is an exploit, because having a threat of 7 does mean that with a threat of 7, I would be rolling better than what I'm rolling right now, even if I'm rolling with a trait tag.
Yeah, you just don't have you wouldn't start with a talent at all. You wouldn't start with trait
Correct.
tags. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But does that completely matter? The talents are cool.
Yeah.
But they may be less optimal than, because if I have a threat of 7, I have a threat of 7. I'd have 1 point left over, but that also means that my carrying capacity is 7.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just, I think with the threat, the higher threat gives you some staying power, probably more than others.
Mm-hmm.
But like, you won't be able to. Yeah, it really depends. I guess it would depend on what the player's intentions are. Like, you wouldn't play a spellcaster initially. That's off the table. You wouldn't be able to be like a.
Although I could go with a threat of 6, which is still better than this, and a 6 would still.
Look at the talents.
Let's see, that'd be 10. That would be 3 points. So I would not be able to take the talent yet.
Yeah.
Which is kind of there is that.
Yeah, which is why I kind of set things like I did. Like, if you try to max out your threat, to my mind, is like, okay, cool. You want to stay up in combat. You're probably carrying a fair number of items and gear.
Yeah.
But that makes you a one-trick pony. Which you know.
But
Yeah,
you
I
could
don't
argue
know.
that if I'd spent the 8 points, that gets my threat up to 5,
Yeah,
which is what I would be rolling right now if I had a
yeah,
tag,
yeah,
and that would still allow me to be a spellcaster.
yeah,
I could still take a talent at
yeah.
that point.
Yep. Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
just something to be thinking about.
yeah,
Those would be some of the
yeah.
exploits that people may
Sure.
think about.
Yeah. No, I just don't know. Yeah. I mean, no, it's all valid points. I just don't know. Like, if you're the kind of person who like has to win, there's no game I can design to prevent people from doing that. I did that with OSNR, and people who love Magic users hated that goddamn game because of how Magic works. It's a drain on you physically, and they were so fucking mad. That was the quote. I almost put it in the book. Like, whoever designed this hates spellcasters. I was like, no, you're just so used to getting your way and shit. Yeah. I just don't know. Yeah, it's man. Look, I'm trying to look at the talents. Like, is there anything that really stands out? Of like, oh, yeah, I don't know. So I don't think like that. That's why I'm glad we're having this conversation.
Yeah.
Because I can give a fuck if I win Dungeons and Dragons or not. I'm the kind of idiot who would have a low threat and a bunch of trait tags and then a couple of talents.
Well, and that's the path I was heading down. But
Yeah,
the problem, and I think this is why I bring this up, is the problem with threat being everything, including endurance.
yeah,
If you did that, you're carrying rope. Actually, you're carrying a backpack. You might be able to carry a weapon.
Yeah. Because I don't.
And that
I
would
mean,
be it.
yeah. Because your threat is I mean, you always yeah. If you had one threat, I don't even know. Like, Jesus wept. You know.
You carry a backpack so you could put a weapon in it.
Yeah. And then, man, you take the one successful and you're done.
Yeah, exactly. So,
but again,
I mean,
whose fault is that? You know, if you're designing the one threat character.
Granted, agreed.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with that. But I guess the encumbrance piece is something to think about. Should encumbrance be more than just your threat value?
It could be twice the threat value, but that seems like it might go high. Shit, I lost a page. Or maybe
so is there like if someone's just
go ahead.
If someone's attacking just their bare fist or someone's attacking with a knife, what's the difference?
None. None at all.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, none
so
at
it's
all.
It's just more cosmetic then. Okay.
Well, the problem would come in potentially, right? If somebody's impervious to something like fist punching.
Yeah.
You may not. If you have armor, I'm probably not getting through your armor.
Yeah. Yeah, because you don't have the piercing tag attached to it or things like that. But yeah, I mean, people get killed all the time in fist fights. So.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. The loadout thing, I don't know what to do about that because you're not wrong.
We'll see how it plays.
Yeah.
We'll see how it plays.
Yeah, because even if you start adding up,
going to Rich.
Go ahead, bro.
Sorry. Going to Rich's point, about someone who's an optimizer, they could be like, "Oh, I'm going to play a monk, so I don't need any weapons, I don't need any armor, and I'm going to max my threat out to show my martial training, right?" And so that's, but I guess it's like it just depends, like the group and how people are.
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah, if you just wanted to, that's actually a pretty cool character fucking concept, actually. Oh, that's actually not bad. When you think about that, that's pretty good.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know how to set the loadout any different. Maybe it's straight 6.
Or 1.5 your threat.
Yeah.
Or 1.5 round up.
And maybe in addition to dice, the traits, if the traits are talents, like for example, like in Savage Worlds, if you're not trained in healing, maybe you can't operate on someone. It's just like this. So maybe there's something about there's like you're saying, if you know the piercing trait, you can't pierce this guy's armor. So maybe it's like there's some things you can't do, or they're hard. I don't know, so that make the traits and the tags more meaningful. If they're just one extra die and you need a 6 to be successful, that's not that much better than just not having the die at all, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So there's some way. I don't have an exact concrete way, but there's some way to make the traits and the tags more significant, right? Either
I was thinking, mate, what if they add 2 dice instead of just 1? Because then you can either increase all your stats by 1, or you can specialize and get 2 extra rolls on discerning. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
or it gives you a +1 to a die, like right? I'm athletics tag, and I'm climbing, so I get a +1 to my dice.
Yeah,
Okay.
you know,
So on a 5 or 6, on a 5 or 6, I succeed.
You know what traits could do is it could take us back to what the game, the kind of an older pattern. If you have a trait you roll, you succeed on a 5 or a 6 with a 6 exploding.
Yeah,
I like that, actually.
Yeah.
Is that? You guys want to play with that?
That like doubles your chances.
like that
yeah,
idea.
That's huge.
Okay. Trait tag is a 5 or 6. We'll go with that route while we're testing this and see how it works out.
Cool.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And that might answer some of the questions. Like you see, you'll never get around the weird kids. These are people who had bad childhoods, man. This is how they make up for it. That book Shared Fantasy has some. That book Shared Fantasy has some horrific quotes in it. I just keep reading it, and I'm like, human beings actually said this stuff to a total stranger. Like, this is insanity. Like, holy shit!
It was either going to therapy or playing D&D. I guess this guy chose D&D.
Yeah, it's some good stuff to think about. And I even put a random advancement chart in there. So every time you spend your experience points to advance, you can just randomly roll what happens to you, if you like.
Oh, one last thing that I'll mention, since we were talking about trait tags and some things that you can or can't do.
Yeah.
I think one of the things is common sense, right?
Well, yeah.
I might be able to throw a patch on and do healing, but if I'm trying to do surgery, healing becomes not possible.
Yeah,
sort of thing.
Yeah, and that's why you guys have the section that's not included in the game that's on DriveThru right now, but you have the consequences of action where there's like, if your ass gets down to 0 threat, there's injury tables to roll on.
Yeah.
Develop like concussions, limps, bleeding and shit like that, or lacerations, things like that.
That's cool.
And that starts to
losing limbs.
You can get a limp. There's nothing taking away things, but some of the shit's can be pretty brutal. And then it requires like, access to medical supplies, it requires a healing roll. And then like you have to make there's a challenge rating for healing injuries. And so if the injury is a minor injury, it takes 2 successes to overcome that if you want to try to get it. And if you don't, you're stuck with it until, whatever.
Cool.
They got physical, mental, and spiritual injuries.
Because one of the things that I was kind of thinking was, and again, just something to be thinking about, are there trait tags that are advanced trait tags? Kind of like in Mithras or even your Zero, there are certain skills that may be advanced, meaning you can't use that skill unless you have training in that skill.
No, but while we were talking about it, because right now it's you either have a trait tag or you don't, but I had thought about maybe having like 3 pips, and so you could buy the trait tag, but that was get the trait tag multiple times, and that might be a thing of like, hey, if you're going to try to heal someone who took a gunshot wound, your trait tag, your heal tag has to be a two or more, somewhere in there. I don't know. What do you guys? I'm trying also not to overcomplicate things, but
well, and I'm good with the way that you have it. I think if we leave it as open as that, though, there need to be directions to the GM that says, "Look, use common sense. We're not overwriting this."
Yeah.
But if you're not a surgeon, you can't perform field surgery.
All right. Okay. I'm going to stop recording. We can get off here. I'll start working on some things. Do we want to do this weekly or bi-weekly?
I'm good either way.
Yeah, I'm good either way as well.
Yeah. I can do either way.
Okay.
Then I say let's do it weekly.
Let's do it weekly.
Something changes.
Yeah, we'll do it weekly and throw down a few sessions and see how you guys are handling things and how much you like it and if the game really works or not.
It'll
If
be
it doesn't
fun.
work, we'll just stop talking about it and we'll move on to the next product. We'll just leave it.
No.
All right, guys. Hey, thanks a lot. Think about your character, your rumors, and then yeah, I'll get the idea of what we're gonna do for the world.
Cool.
Yeah,
Cool.
you guys give me some really
Okay.
good ideas. Yeah.
Awesome.
All right, man. Thanks, guys.
Hey, thanks.
Yeah. Take care.
Talk to y'all later.
All right.
Later.
Okay.
Good night.
Night.
Later.